Okay, well, if you're here, I would appreciate you just logging in. Okay, well, if you're here, appreciate you just logging in. Microphone's working. everybody can hear us. And if you enable chat, please enable chat. I don't want to hear myself. Okay, we are still broadcasting live here. If you can hear this, just log in, chat with your chat. We are still, there's no video today, there's just audio. Chat is enabled. If you could email me back at Bob Wins and let me know if you're viewing, if you're able to hear me. I'm online. If we still hear anybody else. Hello. Hello, can anybody hear me out there? La la la. Hello? Okay, so you can hear. Yeah, I'm up here. Yeah, that's where I can only get the internet up here. Hello, can anybody hear me out there? Okay, so that's good. La, la, la. You know how to enable chat? Please enable chat. Hello? Well, we got 5 viewers on here. If anybody can enable their chat so I can see if it's working or not. Just press all the buttons. You'll finally figure it out. Figure out where the chat is. No, I gotta have the computer line in here. Next week, out there, but I don't.
Man, you got that. You are all sorts
and
of
right now,
panicking out. I think there's some kind of important meeting that they're going to say I had kind of right to it. So they got that link yesterday. And I said, well, they go there. This is what they say. What's going on here?
Today, we're not overthrowing the world. We're not having any third world conference in here. We're just having a board of directors meeting, and it's very informal. We're going to just discuss the future of the world. Just our little 22 acres.
I'm telling you,
there's people right here.
I always look back to our discussions and meetings and all of that. I say, what is this about? This little community? Why do you make such a furore about it?
See, the thing is, it doesn't list who's online.
Yesterday it did. At one point I saw the icons for. See, it says you when it says you.
Yeah.
At that, I saw Eric's mugshot.
Yeah, I know.
And your name, you were not mugshot. And so it will show who's participating. For sure.
You could just pick up the damn phone and call me. Hey, can you get on? Can you hear it?
I can hear you. I just don't know where the chat is.
Well, on the top left-hand corner, if you run your browser up to the top left-hand corner, just to the left of the Google Plus thing, it should open up a little hidden menu.
Wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Save. Okay, hold on.
And it's a blue-looking box. Let's see how delayed it is. That's cool. You got it figured out? Okay. He'll figure it out. Right. Plus, you're just going to hear me anyway.
Right. I'm ready. So I'm Stephen Brandwidth and sale.
This damn thing doesn't show the viewers.
somebody who is it?
That's you. We're going to get started here in just a few more minutes. I think a lot of you guys are listening to this broadcast on YouTube. If you have a Hangouts, if you can figure out how to get to Google Plus, log into your Google account and get to Google Plus, and you'll find a Hangouts there. You might be able to log in there, and you will be able to enable chat. From YouTube, there is no chat. And I'll try to fix that. I'll try to send out the correct link next week. But we're about to get started here, and I'm not going to mess with it. But it's a good test. I see there's 5 people listening to us. So welcome to the weekly Board of Directors meeting. Mark's here. Shabash is here. I don't know if Sandy's here. She might be listening in somewhere in this world. But she can't talk. Doggone it.
You better get back on sort of Skype anyway.
Why don't you log into Skype?
We'll do.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You log into Skype. Sandy, we're coming back to you. It's the blue button. This will get easier and easier as we go along. So that guy Frank fixed the car yesterday. He climbed. He was on his back doing this clutch job. 8 hours on his back, and the car is only a foot off. You know where you drive up on those 2 little cheap ass ramps? Yeah, dude, working like a dog for I don't know. I mean, he quoted $500 to do just this bearing.
You know, your EP2 is that's pretty low, man.
No, don't use AP2. You can use. What else you got?
Well, see, I didn't have that card of yours.
Okay, so yeah, you can use that. Fortran, F-O-R-E. I was hoping your wife would come sew these damn curtains up. I'm somewhere on the list. Don't comment on our list.
Okay. All right. I'm not call phones or whatever. I hate this new
For the viewers that are logged on, we're just trying to Skype Sandy in here for a minute. You probably figured that out since you listen. It's only 3 people, 4 people. I was up to 5 at one point. figure out.
This one on the screen you get.
No, there's this login. Sign in.
I sent you basic instructions from this blog.
It's not that.
Hey, do you know Skype? Have you seen this Skype screen? I can't go from here.
The only way to discover Skype is to be able to bring up the people with nationals. But Skype to Skype.
Hold on, let me bring that Sandy on this thing. Here.
You can bring one person to Skype, but you can't bring more.
No, that's not what you're, yeah, I'm just trying to see here. I just don't know how to get to. Just go out. Oh, Sandy.
But you're on the website right now. You can get off the website and get on your local application.
Yeah, that's right. Apps. Okay.
Your local Skype application.
Hold on, here she is. I got it.
I don't know where that is.
I got it.
You can't possibly bring all those things.
Well, they're all together.
Well, they are, but you're not finding them. So put
Yahoo Messenger. Sorry. I thought they were all together. But
Hey, Sandy, how you doing? It's not very loud. Usually you're a lot louder. Yeah, I don't think it's you, though. I'm going to let Shabash try to bring you in a second. You might get a phone call.
I don't have
that's better.
Shabaj on my contact list.
Okay, we're good now. Okay.
Okay.
So now, everybody, we have Sandy on board. And, boy, I wish live.
So who's there?
We don't know. I can't see the viewers. But that's okay. I'll fix that later. So anyway, we got Mark here, Shabash, Bob. And Eric.
Well, it makes it louder than me. I don't think it makes any difference to me.
I don't have Shabaj on my contact list.
Okay, we're good now.
Okay.
And Sandy, if you could mute your your speakers in the background, you're picking up your feedback.
Is that better?
Yeah, just close.
Yes.
Okay. So Sandy, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Eric, you can hear me?
Yes.
Mark, you can hear me? And Shabash, you can hear me?
Yes,
Okay, so let's go ahead and proceed on with this meeting this morning. We have a quick agenda. Shabash, you want to go over the quick agenda that we have today? Hold on, he's still...
okay, let me get back on my travel.
Well, I would like to make a motion that I be allowed to speak at the beginning here because I have a dental appointment, and so I wanted to stop by and address the CMA.
Okay, I'll second that. You okay with that, Sandy?
Yeah, I guess so.
So I'm getting concerned that we are not making the forward progress that we need to make, and I'm looking at what is going on around me, and one of the things that I see that is taking up an inordinate amount of time is the rental pool. I'd like to present a perspective here. We have kind of a pyramid with three building blocks. We have Amelia's at the bottom, the community management in the middle, and the rental pool resort at the top. Those are the three essential parts that we are looking at right now. We're trying to take Amelia's out from the bottom and make the community management the basis for this community. And we have started focusing on that, but the rental pool has suddenly started taking a life of its own. And I've been trying to encourage everybody to understand that the rental pool as it is today is working and functioning fine. We do not need to be spending time worrying about the rental pool right now. We need to work on transitioning the community over and this body taking over the responsibility so that we have a basis for a solid groundwork for the rental pool. The rental pool can be kept as it is right now with adding Jonathan to the mix and allow it to work for another month until this body can get itself completely organized and take care of all the legal requirements that we have in the process right now. Then we can address the rental pool after you guys have time to be able to focus on that. We do not have the resources and the capability right now with just the 3 people and Sandy there and myself as the main people making the decisions and doing the work that has to be done. We do not have time to be entertaining all of these personal agendas and proposals that are being put out for the rental pool. We need to put that on the back burner and allow it to just stay there until we finish building the community management structure and making sure that that whole thing is in place and functioning properly. Then we can take the time and the resources necessary to address the rental pool. Now let me speak about the rental pool for just a minute. The rental pool basically as it sits today is working just fine. The problem is we don't have marketing or sales to bring people here. So that is not an issue that is going to be solved in 2 or 3 weeks. That is something that's going to take some time and effort and an understanding of what is the best way to market this resort to get people to come here and stay. But right now, the rental pool villas and the owners and all that, they can wait 1 month, community stabilized. Then we can take the proper time, because it is important that we look at the rental pool with a lot of respect. It has a big role in the success of our community. So I would like to have everybody consider the, tabling the rental pool for at least 3 to 4 weeks, and let's move forward with getting the community structure organized and get all the legal things taken care of.
Essentially with the same message that we can't deal with it right now.
Hey, can I ask?
I can't hear you guys.
You can't hear us?
Yeah, Subash needs to be closer to the mic or something.
Eric, how many reservations are currently set for this month?
For the month of April, we only have 2 reservations.
And for the next month?
Yeah.
Okay. And the month after that?
There was probably 8 reservations over the next 3 months.
Okay. All right.
So those reservations, you can bring that money in and you can pay for a lot of the expense that may be associated with just managing the rental pool like it is today for another 30 days. Okay, so you can take those 2 reservations that are going to bring in maybe $600 or $700, and you'll have that extra money right there to help pay for the cleaning, for Jonathan's salary, or any other expense that may come up.
Do the homeowners get any of that cash?
Well, what I'm saying is that we'll just take the rental pool or the cash from the rental pool and be able to apply it there. Now, yes, under the current agreement, 60% of that money belongs to the homeowner rental pool.
Okay.
Okay.
That's just what I want to clear that up. So there's really only 40%.
Right. But
true
I
money.
think that there isn't a rental pool owner out there that's going to worry about 60% of $1,000. That's $600 divided by 25 people. It's pennies. Okay. So the next month is not really an issue as far as money is concerned. Now, we've all talked about putting out a bill at the beginning of this month where the rental pool owners will pay $20, 15 of which will go to Jonathan's salary, and 5 of it will go to maintenance items for consumables like light bulbs or things like this that come up. Okay, that is not an inordinate amount, and I'm pretty sure that 80% of the rental pool owners will agree to pay $20 to make sure that their villas are taken care of.
Right. Okay. And when you say taken care of, what do you mean by that?
Somebody is watching the villas and looking on the inside of those houses that are vacant.
And Jonathan does that.
Right.
Okay. And how does he do it every day?
Well, you know how it is.
Does he have a job description? Is there a job description for this? Moses, I never knew had a job description. Is there a job description actually written up?
No.
All right. Okay. So we don't really know. We know they do something.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
And I mean, we could,
And
if it's worthwhile, I guess I could take the time to stop what I'm doing and write it all up. But I think the people in the rental pool and the residents that live here understand that, there is a value in the service that is provided to these people. Okay. The thing that a lot of people don't understand is how much is behind the scenes. So we have a website, we have online travel agencies, we have email correspondence, telephone correspondence. We have the global distribution system that's sending reservations from Expedia. So somebody has to be watching all of this all the time. You can't let it sit there and go for a week and not respond.
No, I've seen people sitting in that office doing that.
So, I'm also willing at this point, given that we have discovered an asset that Amelia's can sell, and I hope to have that money within the next week to 2 weeks. Amelia's will, because we have an vested interest in the rental pool as well, just like we have a vested interest in this community. Amelia's will try and come up with $100 to $150 a month to contribute to Jonathan's salary for the next 2 months, 3 months. So that will help ease the burden. But right now, you guys have been elected, and you have the authority to make the basic decisions going forward. And so you can do all this stuff over a period of 2 or 3 months and make the decisions on your own. You do not need to have a whole group consensus.
I agree with that. I'm just wondering, do we do this with a balanced budget? The money that we spend going forward, should it be on a balanced budget, or should we all set? And I don't know how we're going to come up with money in the next 2 to 3 months to make up for the deficit that we've been running since January 1st when we took over. And that's why we can continue to run a deficit.
Right.
We have no choice.
You hit it right on the head, Bob.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to have a budget. It has to be realistic and it has to be balanced. And we can run at a deficit for a little while until we can get there.
Have we been running with a balanced budget for the last 3 months?
Probably not.
Okay.
All right.
So we're going to continue to pile on.
We can,
for 2
pile on.
reservations.
The thing is we know the budget needs to be worked and it needs to be, fixed. And this is exactly my point. You guys can't do that if you're constantly screwing around with stuff about the rental pool. That's why you put the rental pool aside and you focus on getting your corporation set up, getting your lawyer in place, and getting the budget set up so that you can have this thing. But you're getting too many things coming at you from so many different places that you're being jerked around and you're not able to focus on the things that you need to do.
There's only 2 people jerking us around.
Okay, well, I would say set some requirements, set an agenda or whatever. Sandy had a timeline that was out there. We're behind on that timeline right now. That's a good place to start. But getting the corporation, the lawyer, and the budget are 3 good things that we can all focus on and get that done. Right.
Eric, do you have any other information for us?
Eric, do I have any other information for you?
Yeah.
Well, I've said my piece. If that's what you're asking.
All right. So can we move on to the rest of the agenda now?
Well, we're going to discuss it. We're going to discuss it in close about whether we're going to keep Johnny or
Basically,
not.
Sandy is saying, Eric, thank you. We are not going to talk about it.
Sorry. What's that? Jonathan?
His salary is $960.
That's under starting 1 April, they'll work for $750 a month. Plus benefits.
Plus benefits was his 9.
So what was that? It's about $750 plus 30%.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that. You would keep in mind until.
Hold on, Sandy. Mark is getting some information from Eric.
Say that again.
You would keep in mind
So, I mean, yeah, the other thing that we have to remember is that nothing is going to be legal come 1 April. So everything is still going to have to be basically run the way it is today because we're not going to have the legal things transferred over to actually be that. Now, we've all agreed that this committee is going to be the governing body starting 1 April, but we have to understand that there are things that won't happen in the background legally that allows us to do things without us being able to accomplish them.
Right.
Sure. Shareholders still scheduled 27. Any other questions?
What's scheduled for the 27th?
The shareholder meeting where we finalize the,
affiliated shareholder meeting.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can we get the board invited to that to listen in as a courtesy?
I mean, it's an agenda item. There's no discussion.
Just to listen in, just so everybody's got the big picture.
I suppose so. I'll talk with the other shareholders and see what theirs just as hard.
Or just the president.
Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah, that'd be good enough.
Okay, you guys.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Hey, I'm going down to get that car later on. I'm gonna go look at it. He worked like a dog. Okay, see you guys.
May I propose that we just continue with this topic for the agenda? This was topic number 3, the resort and the rental program. And
Before we do that, Subash, would you read that agenda? Because I haven't seen it at all.
it's on travel. Anyway, attorneys donations number 1, shares, articles of association, bylaws, resort rental program, including Pat's proposal. And a note here that we need a due process protocol needed for business proposals from residents, shareholders. So that's something we have to put in place. The reality choices confronting the community, the budget deficit and what it will be. Businesses, independent renting, because there are these proposals floating around that need some kind of policy statement from us about independent businesses operating here. And then that's it, steps moving forward on these.
Okay.
So the first attorney, but since the resort rental program has already been mentioned by Eric, we could just continue with that. And in fact, what Eric said is exactly consistent with what I was saying yesterday. That means this batch proposal is not going to be up and running by first. We either tell them to keep going ahead and sorting it out and do our thing that we were going to do, present our bare bones budget. We were thinking of 2 or 3 options to present to the community. One is a bare bones budget for the resident services only, with the resort left unattended. Owners can make their own arrangements. Or a balanced bare bones budget for resident services, along with resort on life support, with basically the Eric's plan, what Eric is suggesting right now. And we can include a third option of letting the villa owners do freelance until that is ready for launch, and then we will examine her proposal in detail, much later from now. Then we can put it on committee rate, and for the first 2, we can be up and running April 1st, as Eric was saying. The bare bones budget for the community only, and the bare bones budget with the resort on life support. We're going to need that anyway, so I think maybe it's time to actually present that as a motion and then present these 3 budgets. They've all been working on making it bare bones for a long time. So we have more or less what we want to present as a bare bones budget for an interim budget to go on.
Like most agendas, problem because that all these things are interrelated, and it's hard to discuss one thing without it filtering into three or four others.
Right.
But it does seem to me that one bit of business that we could do that would carry this forward would be to follow what we've set out in the Articles of Incorporation, even though we haven't adopted them yet, that there should be a business and resort committee, that we find people who want to be on the business and resort committee, and we set them to the task of setting the ground rules for businesses, coming back to us with a recommendation, and that would eventually tell us a lot about how the resort business is going to operate once that committee has done its work.
Sandra, that is right. That will get to eventually, but I'm concerned about the current situation, especially if we say that we are not we're letting the resort go for the moment, and people can do freelance arrangements. We already, like what Bob was trying to do, trying to help out his neighbors and provide a service, but that was without a business contract. So what I'm saying is, if we want to set up some sort of ground rule for this interim period only, I'm actually suggesting if we go with that third option of the villa owners choosing their own service providers, we, for that interim period, say that residents can provide services to their neighbors without any business contract and without any involvement of the CMA, because it's much too complicated.
Yeah, and the only announcement that needs to be said about that is that this is certainly for an interim, and that rule might change down the line.
Yes, in fact, we'll make that point actually on the top of the minutes this time to remind people that all subject to change, because our first priority is to get a corporation, and that corporation will then have the proper committees and deliberation and so on and so forth. So these are all interim issues.
Yeah. I can go with that.
Can I go back to just a budget here for just a second?
Yeah, that becomes a real issue, Bob.
Right. I want to first. I'm gonna mute the public here, because this is I'm going to go closed meeting here for just a second. Okay, since we really haven't talked about this, so I'm going to mute this conversation for a second. That was
Yeah.
the whole thing. Okay,
So-
hey guys, we're back. We just wanted to go into
So,
executive
Bob,
committee for a second.
I don't think I've seen a budget from you that's a resident services only budget.
I've got one. I'm going to send it out to us today, and it's
Okay.
just bare bones. I mean, it's without the guards because the guards have been let go. It's without the
Right.
It's bare bones and then balanced by adjusting the fees until it comes into
Yeah,
balance.
because
that's
Right.
what we need to present.
because we're still short. We're still short close to $1,000, and the reason being, Amelia's has informed me that they will not be paying their homeowner fees for the 5 villas that they control, operate, and maintain at this time. They do not have the money coming forward next month, which is over $1,000, and that's what we are short on, with even a bare bones just to pay the bills.
Well, we really do need a lawyer then.
Yes, we need to figure out how to assess, how to attach
Yeah.
people. Yes, exactly. You know what I'm saying.
Which means the corporate structure now becomes even more priority because we need a corporation to be able to do that.
Right. So anyway, we've been billing out a month and a half. Everybody's been, and I don't know, there is no separate fund. We have to get this damn lawyer done this week with a corporation and go open up a checking account so we can start getting some funds, and Eric will start moving funds that he has received into our account.
Right.
We need to get that happening sooner than later. And now,
Yeah.
why don't we talk about the lawyer for a minute?
Yeah, now we're back on the agenda.
Yeah.
Now do we talk about the lawyer? Okay.
Yeah.
And we have identified a lawyer.
Yes, but he hasn't accepted us yet.
Right. But we just need to get a corporation so we can go get. Do you care who we get the corporation from? As long as it's a corporation that is the correct one that we can attach these things on later.
See, I don't think we can attach them on later, unfortunately. That's the big question. I think that the articles, at least the articles of incorporation, if not the bylaws,
I don't think.
have to be what he incorporates, what the lawyer incorporates. I don't think we can attach them later.
Okay, why don't we just double check on that? And,
Yeah.
And then, because the bank, they don't care what our bylaws are or what.
Right.
They just need to see a corporate number. And,
Exactly. Yeah.
So then we could. So, but you know what? Like Eric says, we can continue to operate under that account, and there is a checking account here that we had that OMB HOA account that's still sitting.
Yeah.
Over
But we don't
PC
want to use that for
over
good
the
reason.
PCR.
Yeah, we basically, come to the conclusion earlier that everything old has to go, including the bank account. But Sandy, I think Bob is suggesting in the interim, while this, on the day of the transfer, we will have control of those checking accounts that are operating, and it'll take a while for us to get the new checking accounts and the money transferred over to the new checking account.
Yeah.
So in the
Yeah,
interim,
might
can we not afford to just use the on April 1st, start using the existing checking accounts and the existing, whatever.
Right.
And then, again, all of this is going to take time. We're not going to be able.
I know, but I'm under the old school of just throw us into the lake and we will swim. He wants to drag this out for 2 or 3 more months as
Right.
and you know what?
No, he's not dragging out for 2-3 months. He's saying don't attend to other things for 2-3
We're
months. Attend to this. We want to get this done right now.
Right.
I agree. However, okay.
The final resolution of the resort thing you're saying, we want to do the I think that's a reasonable. We can't get all of this
Let me
figured
tell you.
out by April 1st.
I'm not trying to make this sound like a small business that we're running here, but it is a small business that we're running here.
Right.
It's not a very involved business. There's only two 1 or 2 employees here in the village, and then 3 out on the farm, and that is it. That does the landscaping and stuff. There's just been no management, and so it's just putting in controls. Sandy, you know as well as I do, these places that we've lived in, that this runs very smoothly after you get the homeowners association put in, because the volunteers put in controls and
yeah, without the resort, there's not much there.
yes, that is
the only thing
exactly.
that makes this more complicated than any other HOA is we got a garden, but really, without the resort, it's very simple. You're right.
And that's why I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. Okay, so
Right.
anyway, so to get back to the lawyer,
Your lawyer went down.
my guy didn't want to mess with us.
Yeah.
He would go for the corporation. He said, "I'll do the corporation," but I forgot. I did not ask him about whether he had to have the bylaws in there, or this was just a boilerplate corporation that we could change it as we go along.
Okay, well, why don't we just get him right away just to do the corporation? Because, this man doesn't seem to be, all these big time lawyers don't seem to be very interested in fooling around with this small thing. But incorporation of backroom operations, and it doesn't cost them much, so they'll do that. So let's just get the incorporated company up and running, and then we'll
We need to have the bylaws finalized before we get the corporation.
Yeah.
The bylaws have to be finalized.
They might.
The bylaws, we'll just vote on at next week's
Or
meeting.
is it the articles?
Which one, Sandy? Articles or bylaws have to be?
Well, it does. Let me tell you what we plan to do, but I don't know that we can do it. I've gotten a bunch of comments on the articles of incorporation and the bylaws. I sent you guys out a summary of that. Some of the things I think I could just say on my own, yes, we should do that and make that change. Some of the things, I have a recommendation in there, but to the board, maybe we should make this change. Some of them I don't have anything because I don't know, or it doesn't matter to me which way we go. It's just a matter of doing that. It's kind of like, okay, the whole question about how many shares are there going to be is just, I don't really have a dog in that hunt. It's just a decision that has to be made. So we need to do that, and I need to get you back out another copy. The question and my thing was that I was going to let the board do that. Once the board was satisfied with what we had, that would go to the attorney. The attorney would tell us what they needed to tell us, and we would make more changes based on what the attorney told us. And then that final would go out to the full membership for a straight up or down vote. No changes, no amendments. At that point, you either accept it or you don't. If they accepted it, then we incorporate that. But I don't know that we have time for that now. We've wasted so much time with other stuff that we may just have to move more quickly, and it may be that I just make the changes you guys and I figure we're going to need to change, and then we just go.
Right. And then we can always go back and ask for.
Well, the articles can be amended. It's difficult to amend them, but the way I set it up, it's purposefully difficult to amend the articles. The bylaws can be amended more easily, but they can be amended. So we could always amend them, but we at least need to get enough in there that we do have the authority to amend them. And it may be that the lawyer tells me you've got way too much detail in your articles and you need to pull a lot of that stuff into your bylaws so that we don't have to file all that stuff, which would be easy too.
Yeah, why don't we take a 5-minute break? Let me call the attorney. I'm going to have to hang up on you, Sandy, to call the attorney.
Okay, you're going to call me back.
Yes, I'm going to put everybody on hold here for a minute. We can have a smoke and a joke, and
Okay.
I'll come back.
All right.
Hey, everybody, I'm going to stop the broadcast for a minute, or I'm going to go mute. We're going to call the lawyer and see if we can get an answer. If anybody knows that answer, you can't chat. You could if you knew how.
Don't get
Okay.
participated. Don't start up that.
5-minute break. Gracias. All right, guys, we're back. We still have, looks like there's still four viewers online here, so thank you for hanging with us. We called the attorney and we got some new information. We're waiting on Sandy to come online.
So, yeah, my question was, does a corporation come with its own set of bylaws?
I think there's a boilerplate.
Yeah,
I think there's a boiler.
we have to add that to ours.
No internet connection. No, it's me. It's me. I got it set. Here we go. Here we go. I didn't lose you. Here she is. I think this might be working okay for everybody. And it's taping it, so if you need to do notes, go back and check your notes. You know, when you do the minutes.
Yeah, that's fine,
Sandy.
Yes.
Okay, so we talked to the attorney, and we do need the bylaws and the articles of incorporation.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay, so let me ask you this: as close as you are, and we thought about maybe just doing this, because it's so hard to go back and change it. Why don't we just go ahead and put it out there for a vote on Saturday or Sunday, the same way we did the board of directors vote on that? It gives people time.
Okay, there's two things. Are we public right now?
Yeah, we are. You want me to drop it?
Yeah, drop it for a sec. 30 seconds. Okay.
So I guess we can go back and let's change it then. Why don't we try to have those things ready by the first of the week?
Right.
And then put it out for a vote. And I mean, we're still going to be very close. I mean, Eric leaves on April the 1st too. And,
Right. Okay, so I think there are a couple of big decisions that have to be made about those articles. And the first big one is the number of shares to be
Hold
issued.
on, we got to. That guy needs to get a muffler on that thing. Tires and a muffler. Okay. All right, go back to your thing. I'm sorry.
Well, the first big decision is how many shares to issue, and how are those shares issued to the owners?
Well, that brings us back to agenda item number 2, shares and bylaws and articles.
Yes.
Sandy, what do you think now? We've got these preferred shares or preferential shares that represent, that remain basically unchanged. And what we are getting transferred is 1,500 voting shares. First question then is...
That's not the shares I'm talking about, Subhash.
Yes. Well, the first question we want to answer is, do we want those ownership shares to also, or do we want these two separate categories?
Well, no, that's not the question. You're confusing OMB shares with CMA shares. I'm talking about CMA shares.
There is not going to be an OMB.
Well, the CMA shares, are they going to be issued to anybody?
Are they going to be what?
Issue.
Are we going to be distributing those?
I think so. That's what the articles say we will do. That's what the articles I have written say we will do. And that was the most controversial issue that the articles raised.
And what do they represent? Value? Are we talking about shares that represent the asset value?
Maybe. But more importantly, they are the voting shares of the CMA.
Okay, well then we need to talk about how many voting shares we need to issue. Is that all right?
Yes. So there are 3 different plans that have been suggested. So in no particular order, one plan is to issue enough shares so that you would receive the same number of CMA shares that you have preferred shares in OFBSA. So if you're in a small bill and you got 13 shares, you're going to get 13. If you get 26, if you have 26 of the other one, you're going to have 26. If you're a fractional owner and you have 1 share because you're a fractional owner, you get 1. That's one plan that's been suggested. The other plan that's been suggested by some of our owners is that everybody gets 1 share. Doesn't matter if you're fractional, if you're big villa, if you're little villa, you just get 1 share. Period. It's also been suggested that everybody get 13 shares. I'm not quite sure I understand the difference between giving everybody 13 and giving everybody just 1. So I guess if you had 13, you could split your shares. But
giving everybody 13 would bring in the fractionals. If we give 1 vote per share, then the fractional owners get a quarter share or something like that, or 1/13th share. And so that's why 13 rather than 1.
I like 13 per household.
Well, and the other thing is, I don't understand why it's not just 12. I think I understand why our preferred shares with 13 shares. It's because we pay on the basis of the number of shares, not the number of months. And since they had to issue 13 paychecks to their staff, they wanted money coming in 13.
Sandra, each share is 4 weeks.
Right.
And 13 times 4 makes 50.
Okay. All right. That's what. Okay. All right. I get it. Yes.
So, yeah, that's what I would favor is 13 per household.
Per household. Doesn't
Right.
matter.
I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a 2-bedroom villa, 1-bedroom, or a 3-bedroom full standalone house. The voting part should be.
Okay.
Per household.
And then what do you give to a fractional, Mark?
Pardon me?
How many shares do you give to somebody who owns 4 weeks?
1.
Okay. All right.
Okay, and that would also relieve, because when we reset the budget, it will actually help the budget it will make more sense because we're not basing the homeowner fee on the square footage, as we were doing it before. That's why the 3 bedrooms get paid for, paying $300 something.
Well, the fees should still be somewhat based on the square footage, but not a whole lot.
Not right. So,
Right.
all right. So
Right.
we just.
Okay, so I will do it that way. So here's the help I need from you. How many shares is that? So I need to know how many buildings there are there now, or how many owners there are who are going to get 13, and how many people are going to get 1, and account for the 3 unbuilt building sites. We need to issue enough shares so that they can get shares when those get sold, if they get sold. And I need you guys to tell me what the exact number of shares is that we want to issue, so I can dump it in the article.
Okay. All right.
Shouldn't that be available? Use billing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get those paid.
Actually, it's. I think we got it right.
Anyway, we'll get that number. That's easy enough. We find the total and do that. And you probably want a few extra shares for the unsold lots. So
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah, we need 20. If it's 13 per household, that's 3 lots there. So and potentially 2 villas potentially 2 half billers on every one that we don't know what it's going to be, but we would issue probably 26 shares per lot for those. We might end up with some shares we have to cancel eventually.
Cancel.
I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah.
They just sit somewhere.
Okay.
Well, they can sit somewhere, but the number of shares affects the valuation of the shares. So if there are more shares than the actual assets represented, household number of households represented, then appraisals of value of
So
shares.
1,500 is kind of an arbitrary number. Change that number.
Oh yeah, even 1,500 is again not at all relevant to this number.
Yeah, we don't need 15 doesn't matter. We're just gonna go off 13. Okay, we'll figure that out. All right, Sam, we'll get that to you.
Okay, somebody has commented that they think a 1-year term for the board members is too short.
Huh.
Now they can re-up.
Well, eventually, that's a whole nother subject. Oh, I see. That's in your thing. I
Yeah.
thought we were going to go to revolving. We're going to have to go to revolving where we only elect 1 or 2 officers per year. Maybe that's, the
Yeah, I mean, you could stagger terms.
Yeah.
You could have, if you have anything longer than a 1-year term, you would have staggered terms. But if you have 1-year terms, you're electing everybody all over again every year.
And we need to stagger the terms. If we can put that into place, is that?
So you want 2-year terms or 3?
I see what you're saying.
Two is maximum. I don't think any of us
2-year terms, and then we can pass ourselves in and vote and get this staggering going here this year somehow.
Well, you know what you usually do, Bob. We had an election. We know who got the most amount of votes and who got the least amount of votes among the 4 of us. So you 2 who got the most votes, you have 2-year terms. And those of us who got the least votes, we have 1-year terms.
That's very smart. Okay.
Yeah.
That fixes that.
Just one person.
And that's how you start. That's how you start. And then after that, everybody's elected for a 2-year term.
Very cool.
So only one person has one officer has 2-year terms. Is that right?
2.
2.
Oh, the top 2 vote getters.
Yeah.
Regardless of what position they what position they get appointed.
Yeah, because that was not part of the election.
Right.
What position?
Okay. Vote getter, maximum vote getters have 2-year terms. Okay, that makes sense. I'll put it down.
Yeah. There was real confusion about a 5th and 6th board member, but I think that's just because people are not reading it the way I am, and I think I just need to make it clearer, but it's okay.
I tell you one thing, when I first started looking at this thing, I always said, to be able to serve on the board, you got to speak Spanish. Man, that would really shorten the pool. But
That would shorten no, I don't think we can do that.
yeah,
First of all, assuming that you do always want to have a non-resident owner on the board, at least one, it's highly unlikely that the people who bought this for a place they're going to spend a vacation for 2 weeks are going to be Spanish speakers.
right. Okay, right. Picking up a lot of background noise. Sandy, is that your house? Sandy, are you back?
Okay, you guys still there?
Yeah.
Okay, so as I'm looking at issues, I need to do some clarification on the sale of common property. I was trying to be vague about it because I meant the lots too, and maybe that's, but I need to to do something. I need to see unencumbered by preferred shares has some merit or something like that to make that clear to everybody. I think I need to do something on defining the owners assembly, and that's fine. And nobody quite understood or at least the people who commented didn't understand what I meant by a contract with an annual value of $10,000, which to me seemed straightforward.
Yeah, I understood it.
Yeah. And I also think there are people who have the mindset that they are going to get to vote for a president and vote for a vice president and vote for a secretary and vote for a treasurer, even though that's not what we did this time. They voted for board members, and then the board decided who was going to be each, which is what I'd like to keep. But there did seem to be some folks who really didn't get it.
Well, you know,
And I think it's because they assume they're going to get to vote for a specific officer at some point.
right. Well, we could put that in the next election. Now that we assigned, so the president and I don't know who got the next most votes, but who the next two positions could be voted as those positions.
Well, we don't have to do that, Bob, and I just think it complicates our life. You just vote for people to be on the board of directors.
I
And
agree with
the
you.
board figures out who's going to be president.
Yeah,
And that does mean if you're on the board next year, you might not be president because the board next year might decide to vote for somebody else to be president.
Yeah, but it seemed like the homeowner things that I've stayed in, we always voted for president or vice president, after a while. I thought that's the way it would.
No, that's not the way I intended it, but I can change it that they vote for that, and then the board doesn't vote for its own officers. Yeah. It's the owners assembly that votes for the officers and board members,
Right.
and then we don't have to worry about that when we come together as a board.
Right. I mean, it just relieves it'll relieve that tension on the board of who's going to serve in what position. We can just. Because you're going to have that every year. Why don't we just?
Okay, all right. I'll make that.
Because
if that's the
how many
will of
people?
The rest of the
Right. How many people commented on that? Was there a lot of comments on it?
Let's see. There were 3.
3. That's pretty good. I mean, that's. Okay, I'm sorry. Subhash wants to say something.
Yeah, I still think we should leave it as it is, because in the end, these positions are very nominal anyway. We have to work as a team, when we campaign to be president, specific position, then we have to be kind of saying that the president plays a role that is distinct from the rest. And that's the only part of the role that is distinct is that he runs the meetings. Otherwise, we are always working as a team. For a small place like this, I would not tie a position which is basically meaningless in terms of actual functioning to the vote itself, and let the board decide. If I happen to be the best person for the secretary, even if I had all the votes or most votes, I should be secretary.
I see that point, but I'm also saying if you might get somebody that wants to run, but they don't want to be that position, they would wait until the correct position, like secretary, came up, and there's people here that wanted to run, be that secretary, be that vice president, or be that treasurer. And then they would wait till that term came available. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I suppose Bob is right too, in the sense that some people simply don't want to be president, and so they don't want to.
They don't want to be
participate,
right,
where they might end up having to be president.
Right.
Well, there is that, and I'll tell you, I've worked in a system like this, and the minus is exactly what you're saying, is that you end up with a board and because they've just been elected to the board, and they don't know what's going to go on, and then you end up, you have a board and you have nobody qualified to be treasurer.
Right.
And you ended up, I mean, that's the danger, you know, that, especially because this board is small. If this board was 6 or 8 people and you had to get a treasurer out of that, you'd have a better shot.
Sandy, can this be done, that the voting itself be for specific positions, but we have something in the bylaws or whatever that the board, once constituted, can change that about through internal vote?
You know, that would be, I've never seen that. I don't know that it can't be done, but I've never seen that. And I also think it would be ultimately seen as we would have overturned the result of an election, and people would say, well, I voted for this guy to be treasurer. I mean, you know what, how does the board think that they have the right to change my vote?
Okay, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not a good idea, basically. Well, it might be legal. I don't think it's a good idea.
Well, okay, so why don't we have a vote on
whether the position should be specific due to the voting,
Yeah.
or whether it should be open.
Yeah, so I don't vote. You 3 guys vote. So I would say the first one is, do you want to have specific terms for specific positions? Raise your hand or vote.
Terms? No, you want us to vote for specific positions.
Correct. You want the homeowners to be able to vote. The members to vote.
Right.
Specific positions,
Yeah.
or just membership in the BOD.
Right.
I prefer the BOD.
I'm with Subash on that. I think it would complicate
I am too.
the process too
Okay.
much.
Okay, so it's unanimous to keep it the way I wrote it.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Sandra, there was some comment on the bylaws, some inconsistency with Pat's proposal. I'm not sure we have to address that, but can we figure out whether it makes sense to do it?
Yeah, I mean, this is the other big issue. You know, do you see the resort as something that's owned by the community, and therefore the community has both the upside and the downside? That is, the liability if it doesn't go well, or the success if it does. Or do you see the resort as a separate corporation that has its own, that has all the liability and all the chance of success? And it just relates to the CMA the way any other business would relate to the CMA.
And I'm gonna go off on this tangent real quick, because if we do make it where the resort, where the community has the upside and the downside, we have to remember that they're in a resort. 70% of the people voted to have a restaurant and bar opened here while there was a rental pool going on. So I'm assuming that would continue on. We don't know for a fact. We have to assume that the restaurant runs at a deficit every single month.
Right.
And then the members have to understand that your fees, if we have to subsidize that bar and restaurant,
Your fees are going up.
right, your fees are going up. So there's return and there's reward. So
I mean, I did this. My other property in Mississippi, we've subsidized the restaurant and the bar for every year. It never makes any money.
right.
And there's 7,000 people in that community, and the restaurant and the bar doesn't make any money.
With 7,000 people.
We still have to subsidize it.
Right. And so if we have to pony up another $2,000 a month to keep a restaurant and bar open as a community, it's going to raise our homeowner fees close to $70 per month just to.
Well, I think the real concern was, of course, coming from the people who want to run the rental pool, not from the restaurant and bars. People who want to run the rental pool, and they want the rental pool to be owned by the community. And it could be, but it doesn't have to be. The rental pool could be run standalone, where only the people in the rental pool have the risks if it fails,
That is
and not other owners.
that is I mean, I know when Jim Gale sold this place that it was all going to be community run. You know, there's going to be these little mini businesses going on here, and everybody was, you know, that's how it was originally set up, where the bar and restaurant was owned by somebody else, and owned and operated by somebody else. The resort was owned and operated somebody else, and they just took the majority of the money out of it. So I don't know. I mean, it's a big.
Let me see if I can look at this, and I will look at this and see how I can write it that provides the maximum flexibility.
Okay.
And it doesn't, and I think that's right. At the level of the bylaws and the articles of incorporation, we shouldn't lock ourselves into any particular model.
Right.
And let me take a look at it from that perspective. Have I locked it in to anything?
Yeah, let's just hope that somebody can come in here and turn this rental pool around and as a business, and then we can just take it from them as a community.
Yeah, I won't take it from them. We'll make profits.
And that's all we want is a profit. We don't want the work.
Yeah.
That's right. That's the issue with having only a business operation and not community owned, is that we have to find somebody to run it, otherwise it's just not there. And that needs an investor who's going to be profit making. Sandra, here's the irony, if you will, that we are talking right now about whether we should insist on for-profit operations here to do the things when a volunteer run operation under the community is available, or it can be considered. In other words, we are trying to be a sustainable off-the-grid community, but we are saying no, but we are not going to do service-oriented projects within the community with volunteers, but we're going to insist that operation be a capitalist enterprise for profit. So I find that rather ironic. But we got to do what we got to do in terms of the resources available to us and what makes sense and what's best for the community.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. David Leeper has proposed this, and I think he's right. And I want to sort of put this in there, that the CMA can and should be set up as a nonprofit. And I didn't put that word in the articles, but I think I will. That says it's here to serve the needs of the community. That's its point. It's a mission-driven organization. It's not trying to make a profit. Now, if somebody wants to make a profit at the bar, go right ahead. Let them make a profit at the bar, and we'll take some percentage of their gross. Or if somebody wants to make money renting a house, they can do that, but we'll keep the for-profit stuff at sort of arm's length and let the CMA be an organization that's dedicated to the well-being of the community.
Okay, well, that makes sense. And in that case, that all the service providers have to be for-profit corporations. So
if a particular service provider came to us and said, "I'd like to set up my service providing business as a nonprofit corporation," I think they could do that. I wouldn't have any problem with them doing that. But whatever it is, so they can be whatever they want to be. But from a standpoint of what our community management association is, we're not trying to make money through that. We're trying to serve the needs of the people who live there and who own property.
So could we ask, for example, Pat Pryor's proposal, could that be turned into a non-profit corporation?
Could. And in fact, what I would love to see her do is to set up her own corporation in which every villa owner who's placed the villa under that management is an owner of the company. Not that she and her husband are the owners of the company, but every villa owner is an owner of that company and can share in whatever profits they make.
Okay.
And sharing whatever losses they have too, for that matter. And then that company just has a relationship with the CMA in the same way that the restaurant owner has a relationship with the CMA.
And can we then use that as a model for other kinds of such activities?
Sure. I mean, it could be, you know, if you and Mark want to go in the tax preparation business, you can be a partnership with two, and you can prepare taxes for people and make some money doing it. I mean, you know, whatever.
Okay, well,
And you guys can help.
Well, that sounds like a reasonable option. That CMA will not run the resort, but will welcome a non-profit corporation to organize the volunteers and do the work.
Right, because if she uses volunteers and she's for profit, she's got to pay taxes on the value of the volunteers. So it probably doesn't make sense for her to try to be for profit.
No, I don't think she intends the resort operation to be for profit for her as a business, for them as a business.
Right.
Good. Well, that I think might be a viable solution. I am going to depend on the notes today for taking for writing the minutes because you know, put all of that in. But that's a good idea.
Okay. Okay, is there anything else?
Anything else on shares, articles of association, bylaws?
You know, at this point, I have it set up so that in order to amend the articles, you have to propose an amendment to the articles to the board, and the board has to agree to it, and then the board sends it off to the owners, and then the owners have to agree to it too, by a supermajority. So at least one person thinks that that's giving the board too much power, because the board would have to approve it before the owners would even see it.
I have seen that happen before. It does get.
And you know, and my initial response was, well, if you don't like it, just wait a year and elect some new board members, and then you'll get it through.
But if somebody is miserable because of that, it's a long year for somebody. I don't think anybody should have to be miserable. I mean, if it means that much to them that they're bringing it up before the board, the board's not giving them any.
Right. Now, I suppose we could do it that way, and we could provide an alternate that said if you had a certain number of people or a certain number of shares sign on to offer this amendment, then it would have to go forward, whether or not the board said yes.
Right.
So if you had 10% or 20%, I mean, what do you think is a good number?
Or we can require that any proposals for amendments received, there's some response for acceptance or rejection has to be posted publicly.
Well, that's true too. That's easy.
Yeah.
No, that's a good idea.
Just require that any individual can come forward with amendments to the board of directors, and the board of directors has to respond within 48 hours about the disposition of the amendment, whether it's going to be rejected and the reasons thereof, I just came up with that 48-hour number.
Now, Savage, be careful too.
So much
this is for the Articles of Incorporation. Amending the bylaws is easier. Amending the bylaws says anybody can offer an amendment to the bylaws, and the board has to put it on the next agenda the next time there's a unit owners meeting. Now, it could be a year away because the unit owners are going to only meet once a year, but for bylaw amendments, you have the owners vote. For articles, you had to get the board's approval before anybody could vote. So the bylaws are easier to amend than the Articles of Incorporation. And there should be some extra hurdle of some kind for amending the articles.
Okay, well, that'll work.
Okay.
So we are clear on the number of shares, we figured that out. got a number of items to update on the Articles of Association and bylaws, and we will try to get this ready for the final draft for a vote of the community by early next week. Is that
early next week? And then also in between time, because I do have a little time here, I'm gonna, that set of comments on the on the articles of bylaws, I'm gonna make a few little changes to that based upon the conversations we just had, and I'll post that to Google Groups today. So everybody will see that we read these comments, we went through them, and we're dealing with them.
okay? Wonderful.
Okay? All right.
Well, that's the end of that agenda item. 1, 2, 3 reality choices confronted the community. We've talked about that. Ground rules for businesses. We've determined that we really just have to wait for a final set of ground rules after the operation and transfer. We need to think about something for the interim, but we don't really have that kind of urgency there. And finally, steps moving forward on all of these. We've got Bob going to, enlist the attorney now for the corporation only. Budget, we're going to present a bare bones budget for the community.
Well, the 4 of us meet in conference either today. You're going tomorrow. You're not available tomorrow. Saying.
I'm not available tomorrow at all.
Okay.
It's either this afternoon or not till Friday.
When we get off here, let me send this out and let's discuss this. Let's set aside a half an hour either this evening or because I have to go down the mountain for a little bit.
Yeah.
Just to look.
If we could do it before 6 p.m. my time, it would be good.
Before 6 p.m. your time, which is 5 p.m. here, right?
5 o'clock your time. Yeah. It would be good.
Yeah, I could be back up here.
Not essential, but I would prefer it.
4:30. I'll send that out in just a second. And why don't we meet up for 4:30? Can everybody do that?
Okay.
Okay.
4:30 your time.
4:30 my time, yeah. And that'll be in conference. We'll be in conference on that.
And what do you want to do there?
Well, I just want to go over this budget because I'm trying to base it on the money that's coming in right now that I know is going to be coming in. Nothing else.
Right.
I mean, I can't count on it. I don't have a sale coming up. We don't have more villas being built. And we know Amelia's is broke, so we have to take that money out. And we're going to be expected to pay our own bills. They're not giving us any money to live off of. And then Eric's going to be gone for the entire week. I'm going to sit down and do the billing with Eric next week for the next month and go through QuickBooks with him. And because I think it's very important that we know where our money's coming from and where our money's going out from as a
Right.
even in the smallest detail at the beginning here. There's only like 30 receipts, it's not a big issue. So
Right.
it's just something I like taking on. It's something I like taking on.
Again, so what you're saying is you want to.
We'll just go over the bare bones budget and see, because we're going to have to pass something. He's got one passed, and I don't know if anybody saw it, but yeah, I think he passed it, and it's just it's running at a $3,000 deficit.
Yeah. Well, we can't do that.
We can't do that.
Yeah, no, we just have to present a balanced budget on the backs of HOA dues and tell them.
I also think we will help ourselves if over the next couple of weeks we start identifying people to go on these particular committees. So there's property committee, the business committee, the fellowship committee, and we start finding people and plugging those people in and putting them to work now, even though they don't have formal status, but we put them to work and get them going. And we will move a whole lot further faster, go on down the line if we do that.
Are you suggesting to make the call for committee volunteers or?
Yeah, that we have these 3 committees and we're looking for volunteers for them, and then also particularly you guys who are on the ground, and to some extent me, if you have identified somebody that you think would be the person who needs to get added to that property committee, then go knock on their door and ask them. You know, don't just wait for them to respond to the call.
Okay, well, we can do that, but these would be the committees mentioned in our whatever bylaws.
In the bylaws, right?
Later
right.
be incorporated. Okay.
Described in the bylaws,
But
right?
We can follow. Are you going to put something like an announcement with the various committees mentioned? No?
Yeah, I can do that. If you want me to do that, I can do that.
Going to change the committees, that there were some suggestions to separate the resort and.
No, I think based on our discussions today, we don't have to. They're going to be treated like anything else.
And you know, before we go too far, somebody at the BOD is going to be somewhat kind of supervising these. In other words, what the organization.
It's me. The vice president does. That's sort of why I didn't want to be vice president, but the vice president supervises the committee, according to the articles and the bylaws.
Okay, well,
that's my job.
The current vice president can delegate the responsibility to the treasurer, I suppose.
No, I mean, I think we'll do, you know, that's going to be the only criteria is that whoever chairs every committee is going to have email, because that's how we're going to communicate. They're going to have to email me, and I'm going to have to email them, and I'm going to have to Skype to their meetings and all the rest of that kind of stuff.
Okay. So, Bob, it's okay if she puts out a call for committee membership volunteers on the page, and we'll receive them. You know, you'll receive them or whatever, and then coordinate and get these committees starting to talk to each other. That's basically what you're saying right now, Sandra.
Yeah, and starting to like build the policy and procedure manuals and do some of these activities that you know we expect that committee to be doing going forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's a wonderful idea.
And then,
Okay.
Are we wrapping this up?
I think so.
Okay. I want to say to the people that are listening in, we've got 6 viewers out there. And if you will go on Google Group where I posted Hangouts online and just give us some feedback whether the video is good. I mean, not video. If the audio is good enough. If you like this concept, I'm going to figure out a way to do the chat just so, I know these are closed meetings, but you can respond quicker if we have a question out there or something like that. I'm just trying to fine tune it. So.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, eventually we can have questions coming in,
Right.
But not necessarily required to respond to all of them.
Correct. But like right now, we can have a Q&A right now with some chat.
Ah, yes, that
Yeah.
is perfectly
Yeah.
reasonable and desirable.
Okay. So next week, hopefully we'll have chat. Give us your feedback on Google Groups, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.